Have you ever sensed she wanted more from you but couldn't quite put it into words? Picture this. You pick her up with a plan she didn't have to create. You remembered the small things she mentioned last week and built the night around it. Your phone stays in your pocket. You move through a crowded room with steady calm. She smiles, relaxes, and something unspoken clicks. That's the power of doing the quiet things, right? Women rarely spell these out, but when you do them, attraction deepens, trust grows, and everything feels easier. In this video, we're breaking down 13 simple actions that speak louder than promises. If you want a love life that's respectful, magnetic, and drama-light, this will help. Hit subscribe so you don't miss what's next. Tap like to support the channel, and watch to the end, because the final two are the difference between a good connection and a great one. Ready to learn what she wants but won't say? Point 1. Take the lead on plans, invite her input. Think back to the last time someone planned something just for you. Do you remember how it felt? That moment when you didn't have to organize, decide, or figure everything out. You could just show up and enjoy. It feels like being cared for, doesn't it? Now imagine giving that feeling to her. Picture this, it's Friday evening and she's had one of those weeks. She's drained, scrolling her phone, half distracted. Then you say, "Hey, be ready by 7, I've got something planned." Her head lifts, eyes curious. She doesn't need to know every detail, but suddenly she feels lighter, excited. Because in that moment, she doesn't have to carry the weight, she gets to trust you. Have you noticed how often women say, "I don't know, what do you want to do?" It's not always indecision. Sometimes it's a quiet wish for you to step in, to take the wheel. Not in a controlling way, but in a way that shows presence and thoughtfulness. And here's the key. You don't have to plan something extravagant. It could be a walk through the park she mentioned once, a new coffee shop she wanted to try, or even a simple movie night where you already picked the snacks. It's not about the scale. It's about the signal. The signal that you remembered, that you cared enough to prepare. But here's where many men get it wrong. Leading doesn't mean shutting her out. True leadership in love is making space for her voice. You take the first step, set the direction, but you still ask, "What do you think? Want to add anything?" That balance between decisiveness and openness is magnetic. So let me ask you, when was the last time you surprised her with a plan she didn't have to design? How would it feel to be the source of her ease? The reason she can relax and smile because for once, she doesn't have to decide? The truth is, when you take the lead, you're not just planning a date. You're telling her, "I see you, I've got you, and you can trust me." And that, more than any fancy dinner or expensive trip, is what makes her feel safe enough to fall deeper. Point 2. Notice the small changes and say it. Have you ever had someone point out a tiny detail about you that you didn't even think they noticed? Maybe it was a new shirt, a different way you styled your hair, or even the way your mood lifted when you laughed. Do you remember how it made you feel? Seen? Appreciated? Like you weren't invisible in the rush of daily life? Women crave that same feeling. She might not admit it, but every time she changes something small, like the way she parts her hair, the new color on her nails, or even the softer tone she uses when she's being extra tender, she's silently hoping you'll notice. Not because she needs validation, but because noticing means you're really paying attention. Imagine this. She walks in after a long day, hair slightly different, maybe curled instead of straight. Most people wouldn't catch it. But you pause, look her in the eye and say, "I love your hair like this, it suits you." That single sentence could light up her whole evening, because in that moment you told her without words, "You matter. I see the effort you put in, even in the smallest ways." Think about it. How often do you notice but stay quiet? Maybe you assume it's too small to mention, or you think she already knows. But here's the truth. When you speak it out loud, it becomes a gift. Your words are like mirrors, reflecting back her beauty, her effort, and the little ways she tries to keep the spark alive. And it's not just about physical changes. Did she finally open up about something vulnerable? Did she push herself to try something new? Even a simple, "I noticed you've been more relaxed lately, I love that," can mean more than flowers or gifts. So let me ask you, what was the last small change you noticed in her? Did you say it or let the moment pass? When you practice noticing and speaking it, you're building a relationship where she feels safe, valued, and cherished, not for grand gestures, but for the everyday details that so often go unseen. And those little words, those quiet acknowledgments, often mean more to her than anything money could buy. Point 3. Keep your word every time. Think back to your childhood for a moment. Do you remember when someone promised you something? Maybe your dad saying, "I'll be there at your game," or a friend saying, "I'll call you tonight," and then they didn't show up? How did it feel? A little hollow, right? Almost like their words lost their weight. Now carry that memory into your relationships. For a woman, trust is built less by the big speeches and more by the small, consistent follow-throughs. When you say, "I'll call you after work," and you actually do, it plants a seed of reliability. When you promise, "I'll fix that tomorrow," and she sees you keep your word, it tells her she can lean on you. These aren't just actions. They're silent assurances that you're a man of substance, not empty words. Imagine this, you tell her you'll be home by 8. It's a simple promise, maybe even small in your eyes, but when you walk through the door at 7:55, she notices. Maybe she doesn't say it out loud, but in her heart, she's storing evidence he means what he says. I can trust his word. On the other hand, how many times have you seen someone constantly promise but rarely deliver? Over time, even the sweetest words lose their sweetness, because without action, words become noise. And for her, reliability is deeply attractive. It's not about being perfect, it's about being consistent. So let me ask you, when you make a promise, do you treat it casually or do you treat it like a bond? Do you follow through even on the little things? Or do you let them slide thinking they don't matter? The truth is, every kept word is like a brick in the foundation of trust. Every broken one chips away at it. And women notice far more than they'll admit. When you keep your word, you're not just showing responsibility, you're showing integrity. You're proving that your love isn't just spoken, it's lived. And for her, that kind of dependability is one of the most magnetic, grounding qualities a man can ever have. Point 4. Stay calm when feelings spike. Have you ever noticed how quickly a small spark can turn into a fire in relationships? Maybe it starts with something tiny. She's frustrated. You forgot to grab something from the store, or you're annoyed she misunderstood a text. Suddenly voices rise, emotions flare, and what was once small now feels like a storm. Now picture this. Instead of snapping back, you take a slow breath. Your voice stays steady, your eyes calm. You let her vent, you listen. And only when the wave passes do you speak. What do you think happens in that moment? She feels safe, because instead of adding fuel to the fire, you've become the anchor in the storm. Women notice this more than you realize. When emotions spike, whether it's hers, yours, or both, she's secretly watching how you handle it. Do you lose control, slam doors, or throw words like knives? Or do you steady the ship with patience and composure? Think back to your own experiences. Have you ever had someone meet your anger with anger? How did it feel? Probably exhausting, maybe even damaging. Now imagine the opposite. Someone staying calm, not dismissing your feelings, but refusing to escalate. Didn't it feel grounding, almost disarming? Staying calm doesn't mean being cold or detached. It doesn't mean shutting down or pretending you don't care. It means keeping your presence strong enough that emotions don't drag you out of yourself. It's showing her, even when things get heated, I won't crumble and I won't attack you. That steadiness creates trust, and trust creates deeper love. So let me ask you, when tensions rise in your relationship, do you become the fire or do you become the water? Do you react with heat or respond with calm? The truth is, anyone can be loved when things are easy. But when feelings spike, your ability to stay grounded is what separates a fragile connection from a lasting one. And for her, that calm presence isn't just attractive, it's a kind of emotional security she'll never forget. Point 5. Set kind, firm boundaries. Have you ever noticed how much more respect you feel for someone who knows where they stand? Think about a time when a friend or mentor gently but firmly told you no. Maybe you didn't love hearing it at the moment, but deep down, you respected it, because it showed they valued themselves enough not to be pushed around. Now, the same is true in relationships. Women may test limits sometimes, not always consciously, but as a way of asking, can I trust him to stand strong? If you bend on everything, if you say yes when you mean no, you might think you're being loving. But what she really feels is uncertainty. Without boundaries, love starts to feel shaky, even unsafe. Picture this. She snaps at you in frustration. You stay calm, but you say, I understand you're upset, but I won't be spoken to like that. Your tone is steady, your words kind, but your boundary is clear. That moment sends a powerful message. I value us, but I also value myself. Boundaries aren't walls. They're doors that show what's welcome in what isn't. They're not about control. They're about clarity. When you say, I need this time for myself, or I'm not okay with that, you're not pushing her away. You're creating a safe structure where love can grow without resentment. And here's the thing. Women don't lose respect for men who set boundaries. They lose respect for men who avoid them. Because deep down she wants to know, will you stand up for yourself and for us when it matters? So let me ask you, are you clear about your boundaries? Or do you blur them in the hope of keeping the peace? Do you ever feel resentment building because you said yes when every part of you wanted to say no? When you set kind, firm boundaries, you're showing her something rare and magnetic, self-respect. And when a man respects himself, it becomes much easier for a woman to trust and respect him too. That's not distance, it's strength. And it's one of the quiet ways love grows deeper. Point 6. Give thoughtful, non-sexual affection. Think about the last time someone touched you in a way that wasn't about attraction, but about comfort. Maybe a hand on your shoulder when you were stressed, or a hug that lingered just long enough to calm your nerves. Do you remember how grounding that felt? Almost like their touch said, you're not alone. I'm here. For women, that kind of affection is gold. Too often, physical touch gets tied only to intimacy. But when your hand finds hers while you're walking, when you pull her close on the couch without expecting it to go anywhere, or when you kiss her forehead in passing, it tells her something deeper. It tells her she's cherished, not just desired. Picture this. She's in the kitchen, hair messy, wearing an old t-shirt, completely caught up in making dinner. You walk up behind her, wrap your arms gently around her waist and kiss her shoulder. No agenda, no expectation, just presence. She might laugh, roll her eyes, or melt into you, but either way, she feels loved in a way words can't capture. Non-sexual affection is powerful because it removes the question, does he want me only for one thing? It reassures her that your connection isn't conditional, that your tenderness isn't transactional. And here's the beauty. These little moments often mean more than the big gestures. A hand on her back as you guide her through a crowded room, a playful nudge, a simple squeeze of her hand while you're both quiet. They build an invisible thread of closeness that grows stronger each time. So let me ask you, when was the last time you held her, without wanting anything in return? When was the last time your touch simply said, I'm here and I care? The truth is, intimacy doesn't begin in the bedroom. It begins in these small, ordinary moments of affection that ask for nothing but give everything. And when she feels that, her love for you doesn't just grow, it deepens in ways she'll carry for a lifetime. Point 7. Ask deeper questions than listen. When was the last time someone asked you a question that made you pause, not just a casual, how's your day, but something that made you feel truly seen? Maybe it was, what's been on your mind lately? Or what are you most excited about right now? Do you remember how different that felt compared to small talk? Women crave that same depth. Surface-level conversations keep things moving. But it's the deeper questions that create intimacy. When you ask her what she's dreaming about, what scares her, or what moments from her past shaped who she is, you're opening a door most men never bother to touch. And when you actually listen, really listen, you're showing her that her inner world matters to you. Picture this, you're sitting on the couch, phones down, and instead of talking about errands or schedules, you ask, what's something you've never told anyone, but always wanted to share? Or maybe, if you could relive one day of your life, which would it be? She might laugh at first, surprised, but then slowly she'll open up. And in that moment, you're not just her partner, you're her safe place. Listening doesn't mean waiting for your turn to talk. It means being present, catching the small details, asking follow-up questions that prove you cared enough to hear her fully. Because here's the truth. Women don't fall for men who talk the most. They fall for men who listen the best. So let me ask you, when she's sharing her day, are you fully tuned in or half scrolling your phone? When she tells you about her dreams, do you dig deeper or change the subject? The truth is, deep questions and true listening are rare. But when you offer them, you're creating a bond that goes beyond attraction. It's a soul-level connection. And once a woman feels that with you, she'll never forget it. Point 8. Back here in public, talk in private. Have you ever been in a group setting where someone you trusted suddenly called you out or embarrassed you in front of others? Do you remember that sting, not just from the words, but from the feeling of being exposed? That memory sticks because public moments carry weight. They either build trust or break it. Now imagine this. You're at dinner with friends. and your partner says something you don't fully agree with. Maybe she mixes up a detail or gives an opinion you see differently. Instead of correcting her on the spot, you smile, support her, and move the conversation along. Later, when it's just the two of you, you gently share your thoughts. What do you think that does for her? It tells her, I can trust you to protect me in front of others. You're on my team. Women notice this deeply. When you stand beside her in public, even when she's not perfect, it creates a bond of loyalty. It's not about pretending she's right all the time. It's about showing respect, about proving that the relationship matters more than the need to win a moment. Think of it like this. Public is about unity, private is about honesty. In public, you back her up. In private, you share your truth. That balance builds respect, because she knows you won't humiliate her, but she also knows you won't stay silent forever. So let me ask you, when disagreements come up around others, do you prioritize being right? Or do you prioritize being a team? Do you save the hard conversations for when it's just the two of you? Or do you let frustration spill out in front of everyone else? The truth is, every couple disagrees, but the way you handle those disagreements can either strengthen your bond or weaken it. When you back her in public and talk in private, you're sending a powerful message. No matter what, we're in this together. And that kind of loyalty is unforgettable. Point 9. Live a mission bigger than romance. Let me ask you something. Have you ever met someone who was so passionate about their purpose that it seemed to light up every room they walked into? Maybe it was a musician chasing their sound, an entrepreneur building something from scratch, or even a teacher who lived for shaping young minds. Didn't that energy feel magnetic? Now here's the truth. Women feel the same. Pull toward men who live for something beyond the relationship itself. Love is beautiful, but if she becomes the center of your entire world, your only source of drive, purpose, or meaning, it can feel heavy for her. What she secretly longs for is to be part of your life, not the entirety of it. Picture this. She sees you working late into the night on your craft, training your body with discipline, or pushing toward a dream you've talked about for years. She might roll her eyes sometimes, tease you about being obsessed, but deep down she feels proud. She feels like she's standing beside a man who's building something bigger than both of you. And that's where admiration grows. Because here's the paradox. When you have a mission outside of romance, it doesn't pull you away from love, it makes your love stronger. Why? Because she gets to respect you, not just love you. She sees that your identity isn't dependent on her moods or validation. You stand tall in your own right. And that's a rare kind of security. So let me ask you, what's your mission right now? Is there something you're chasing that lights a fire in you? Or have you let your goals fade while pouring everything into the relationship? The truth is, women don't want to be your entire purpose. They want to stand beside a man who has one. When you live with a mission bigger than romance, you become the kind of man she can love and admire, and admiration is the fuel that keeps attraction alive for years to come. Point 10. Fight fair and repair fast. Think back to the last argument you had with someone you love. Do you remember the moment when it wasn't about the issue anymore, but about the sharp words, the raised voices, or the silence that followed? Sometimes the fight hurts less than the damage left behind. Here's the truth, every couple argues. It's not the absence of conflict that makes love strong, it's how you handle it. Women don't expect perfection, but they do notice how you fight. Do you hit below the belt, bring up old wounds, or shut down completely? Or do you fight fair, sticking to the issue, respecting her dignity, and keeping the love intact even in the heat? Picture this. She's upset, emotions are running high, and instead of throwing back words that cut, you pause and say, I hear you. Let's slow down. I don't want to hurt you while we figure this out. That simple act can change the entire direction of an argument. It shows her that even when you're frustrated, you still protect the relationship. And just as important as fighting fair is repairing fast. How many couples drag an argument out for days living in cold silence? Every hour of that distance chips away at closeness. Repair doesn't mean pretending nothing happened. It means circling back quickly, taking ownership, apologizing where needed, and moving forward together. So let me ask you, when you argue, do you fight to win or do you fight to understand? After the storm passes, do you repair fast? Or let the silence grow like a wall between you? The truth is, conflict can either erode love or deepen it. When you fight fair, you're showing respect. When you repair fast, you're showing commitment. Together, those two choices turn even your disagreements into proof of how strong your bond really is. Point 11. Be steady with money and goals. Let me ask you, when you think back on your childhood, do you remember the people who made you feel safe? Maybe it was a parent, a grandparent, or even an older sibling. What made you feel that way? Chances are it wasn't just their words, it was their steadiness. You knew they would show up, and that gave you peace. In relationships, women feel the same way about a man's relationship with money and goals. It's not about being rich or having everything figured out, it's about consistency. A woman feels secure when she sees you managing what you have wisely, making plans for the future, and moving toward your goals step by step. It's not the size of the paycheck, it's the steadiness behind it. Picture this. She sees you setting a budget, sticking to it, and making sacrifices for something bigger. Or she notices you waking up early to work on your goals even when it's hard. You may think she doesn't notice, but she does. And in her heart she feels, this man isn't just drifting, he's building. And I can trust the ground beneath us. Because here's the thing, instability makes love feel fragile. If you're reckless with money, constantly changing direction, or giving up on goals too easily, it creates an undercurrent of uncertainty. But when you show steady discipline, even in small ways, she feels protected. She knows you're not just dreaming, you're building a future she can believe in. So let me ask you, are your choices today building trust or slowly eroding it? Do your habits show her that you're serious about your future, or do they leave her wondering if she has to carry the weight alone? The truth is, being steady with money and goals isn't about impressing her. It's about giving both of you something solid to stand on. And when a woman feels that kind of stability, her love doesn't just grow, it relaxes. She can lean into you fully, knowing you're a man who won't just talk about a better life, you'll create one. Point 12. Be decisive with family and friends. Have you ever been at a gathering where nobody could decide what to do? One person says, let's go here. Another says, no, let's do that. And everyone just circles around until the energy dies. How did that feel? Frustrating, right? Like time was wasted and no one was really leading. Now imagine that same situation with her by your side. You've got family around, or maybe you're with friends, and everyone's stuck in the endless back and forth. Instead of shrugging your shoulders, you step in and say, all right, let's do this, it'll be fun. Suddenly the room shifts. The decision is made, people relax, and things start moving. And what does she feel in that moment? Pride, relief, trust. Women admire men who can be decisive, especially in social and family settings. It doesn't mean being bossy or ignoring others. It means having the confidence to take input, make a choice, and move forward. Because hesitation breeds tension, while decisiveness creates ease. Picture this. Your family is debating where to eat. She looks at you, waiting. You notice that look, it's not just about food. It's her way of saying, can you lead here? Can you make this easier for everyone? And when you do, when you take charge calmly and fairly, she feels safe knowing she's with a man who won't crumble in the small moments or the big ones. But here's the balance. Decisiveness is strongest when it's paired with consideration. You listen first, then lead. You take everyone's thoughts into account, but you don't let indecision drag on. That's the difference between control and leadership. So let me ask you, when you're with family or friends, do you step up and guide, or do you fade into the background, waiting for someone else to decide? Do you notice her watching, silently hoping you'll lead? The truth is, love isn't just built in private moments. It's reinforced in public ones where she sees how you carry yourself among others. And when you're decisive with family and friends, you're showing her something powerful. With me, you'll never feel lost in the crowd. I'll always know how to move us forward. Point 13. Choose her daily with small effort. Think about the very beginning of a relationship. The little gestures, the late-night texts, the way you went out of your way to make her smile. Do you remember how effortless it felt to show her she mattered? In those early days, it didn't take grand gestures. It was the small daily choices that made her feel chosen. Here's the secret. Even years later, that's still what she longs for. Not diamonds. Not fancy vacations, just the quiet proof that she's still your person. When you make her coffee before she asks. When you send a text in the middle of the day saying, thinking of you. When you kiss her goodbye, even if you're in a rush. These tiny acts whisper louder than the biggest speeches. I choose you today, and I'll choose you tomorrow. Picture this, she's had a long, draining day. She comes home, expecting the usual routine, but instead, she finds her favorite snack waiting on the counter with a simple note, proud of you. It's small, almost nothing in effort, but to her it feels like everything. Because love isn't proven in what you do once in a while. It's proven in what you do consistently. The danger in long-term relationships is complacency, the slow drift into taking each other for granted. But when you keep choosing her in small and steady ways, you keep that early spark alive. And every day she feels chosen, she relaxes more deeply into the relationship, knowing she's not just loved in words but in actions. So let me ask you, how do you show her? In the simple rhythms of everyday life that you still choose her? Do your habits make her feel secure? Or do they leave her wondering if the flame has faded? The truth is, great love isn't built on one or two grand gestures. It's built on 1,000 small ones stacked day after day, and when she feels that, she'll never doubt where she stands in your heart. Because choosing her daily isn't just romance, it's the foundation of a love that lasts. You know, when you look back at all 13 of these points, a clear theme comes through. It's the small, intentional choices that make love strong. It's not about being perfect or trying to live up to some impossible standard. It's about presence, attention, respect, choosing her every day in the little ways that say more than words ever could. If you've watched this far, I want to pause and say thank you. It really means a lot that you spent your time here with me. This channel isn't just about advice, it's about building a community of men and women who want deeper, healthier, more meaningful connections. And you're now a part of that. If something in today's video hit home for you, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Share your experiences, your questions, or even the one point you want to start practicing more in your own life. And if you found value here, consider subscribing and hitting like, not just for the algorithm, but so you don't miss what's coming next. Together we can keep learning, growing, and building relationships that truly last. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.